This is our task, to fill ourselves with goodwill and to be like the river so that we are deep and enormous in our goodwill. And the fire, like the Buddha's not saying that the fire is not there. He's acknowledging it's there. But he's saying you are deeper than the fire. And so go deeper than the fire. And anything that you see in time and space is just an opportunity to go deeper, always. And then what happens is you become imbued with this goodwill so that nothing can shake you, no matter what it is that you observe or experience in time and space. The Buddha goes farther. So that was about if you see people who are lying, people who are using words to create hatred, people who are using words to create fear, people who are using words to create harm. This is what he says. Stay with goodwill. Be deep and immeasurable, like the river in your goodwill. Extend goodwill even to the people who are saying that, even to the people who are doing that, and then allow goodwill to radiate forth through you to benefit the entire world. Good morning and welcome. 1,000 welcomes to you all. And we are meditating today. The topic is open to clarity and peace when overwhelmed. I will also just say welcome. I know we have new people joining us all the time. We are a meditation community in the yogic tradition. The teachings of yoga philosophy help everyone, humans from all backgrounds, all nationalities, all walks of life, live in lasting happiness. And so these teachings appear in texts like the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Yoga Sutras. They are universal truths, and they also appear in core teachings from Taoist, Buddhist, Jewish, and Christian traditions as well. So you might hear me allude to some of those teachings as well. And always, when you listen to the teachings, the invitation for each of us is, how may I open to realize this truth, to allow myself to be strengthened and to have clarity in relation to this truth, such that I can invite this truth to come to life within me. And the teachings are also very practical. So I've begun sharing some teachings about the laws of energy from the Bhagavad Gita. 2 weeks ago, I shared a couple, and they are available on Substack for paid subscribers to our Substack. Here is another one. You have freedom of will within cosmic will. That's from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 5. And I'll say it again, and as we listen, I'm inviting us to tune in directly to the reality of this. You have freedom of will within cosmic will. And the way that the teaching is offered in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, in fact, no human, no being can be deprived of freedom of will. It is actually part of our being here that we have freedom. And so what this means is I always have the ability to choose what thoughts am I thinking, what words am I speaking, what actions am I taking. And I also am responsible for the thoughts I think, the words I speak, and the actions I take. No one but me is responsible for the thoughts I think and the feelings I have and the actions I take. And so you'll realize there are a couple of implications that arise very directly and very practically. That means no human is responsible for how I feel. I get to choose how I feel. This frees me immediately in relation to my relationships with other humans. And so I'm just going to invite us to tune into a scenario. It's a true story someone shared with me this week. They got to spend an extended period of time with a rude relative. Does that sound familiar to anyone? People are laughing. Okay, so here's the scenario. I'm sure it's completely unimaginable to you, but just imagine you get to spend 3 or 4 days, extended contact with a relative, and their state of consciousness, they're just in the energy of rudeness. That's what they're capable of expressing. And so they get up in the morning, rudeness. They go to bed at night, rudeness. They interact with you, rudeness. So just allow yourself to feel, and I'm inviting you to feel directly in your body and in your heart and in your mind.
Hi, my name is Porna, and I'm a part of the Awake Yoga Meditation community. If you like this content, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing, and also consider subscribing to our Substack. You can find the link in our description below. Also, you can find us on awakeyogameditation.org for more information.
If I focus on the rudeness of my relative, how does that affect my body? If I'm focusing on the rudeness, I see people going, yep, nods of self-recognition. If I focus on the rudeness of my relative, what happens to my human emotional heart? If I focus on the rudeness of my relative, what happens to my thought patterns and how I feel in my life? And so you have direct clarity and awareness that if I am choosing to focus on the rudeness of my relative, then unintentionally, I am energizing that in my body in a way that can create stress. It doesn't feel very pleasant in the body. And each body feels that stress in its own unique way. We all have our beautiful, unique constitutions, but it's pretty universal that if I choose to focus on my relative's rudeness, I'm creating a physical stress response in my body. And if I choose to focus on my relative's rudeness, I'm creating emotional distress and unease for myself. And if I choose to focus on my relative's rudeness, then I'm creating patterns in my thinking, like either aversion, like, get me out of here, I can't take this anymore, I'm gonna go, do whatever I do, take a walk, listen to my tunes, whatever it is that you do to sort of like shut out the rudeness. And so for this particular person, they practice self-observation, and they noticed whenever I focused on my relative's rudeness, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And so if I have this awareness, this is basically like you're giving yourself powerful tools in daily life to self-transform in relation to what can arise naturally in human life. And so you can like let go of any judgment, like you're letting go of judgment in relation to your relative. You're saying, that's what they're capable of right now. What am I capable of right now? And so let's practice something else. Now, say that you become aware of a relative's rudeness. What would you like to feel instead? And this is going to be named in a slightly different way for each of us. But for yourself, what would be a counterbalance or a counterpoise to rudeness? For me, I love the energy of kindness, so I'm going to name that for myself. Name whatever you named for yourself. And now, every time I notice my relative's rudeness, I can choose to connect with a feeling of kindness within my heart. This is a choice that I am capable of making. I can choose to feel, how does kindness feel in my heart? I can choose to remember kindness when someone was kind to me or when I was kind to someone else. Notice what happens in your body when you focus on kindness. And it kind of dissolves and melts away that stress response that the body is capable of having in relation to someone else's rudeness. The heart softens. It lets go of its like porcupineness. It lets go of its prickliness. It lets go of its armor. And it's like, yes, they're rude, and my heart is still filled with kindness. And so sort of like their behavior changes its effect on you. They don't have to change their behavior, but the result that it has on you changes, it transforms, it shifts, so that you become a beacon of kindness, a generator of kindness. And for your own thought patterns, if you're focusing on how does kindness feel in my brain, when I'm focusing on how kindness feels, you end up, have you ever gone through a car wash and you get that coating on your window that kind of like just afterwards, the drops of water, if they come, they melt away? That's what you're doing to your brain when you focus on the energy of kindness. So then whatever comes your way, it just kind of goes. There's no place in you for it to land and to stay. And so this is clearly a practice and it's clearly a gift we can give ourselves. And so this is why we have meditation communities, so that we can remind ourselves of these teachings. They are universal. I'm about to share some teachings from the Buddha, which make it very clear that in the Buddha's time, humans got to practice the same thing. And he makes the story like really dramatic and really clear that this is something that each of us can choose, and that we train ourselves. And that as we train ourselves, we actually take care of our own well-being and long-term benefit by training ourselves in these ways. So it's sort of like saying to myself, I love the energy of kindness so much that I choose not to be interrupted in allowing the energy of kindness to flow through me, independent of anything that I see in time and space. And so I gave the example of a rude relative, but clearly, if you're aware of any unrighteousness or unkindness in time and space writ large, it's the same teaching, and it's the same principle. It is to vow to rededicate yourself to the path of kindness. In the Bhagavad Gita, I came across a teaching this morning, cross the ocean of unrighteousness with the raft of wisdom. That tells you humans have always looked out upon the world and said, what's up, humans? What's with all this unrighteousness? And the yogic teachings and the Buddhist teachings as well make it very clear, keep choosing the raft of wisdom. So you're on the raft of wisdom, don't be distracted by the ocean of unrighteousness, and keep your gaze where you want to go. Don't focus on the ocean of unrighteousness, focus on the raft of wisdom. So I'll share with you amazing teachings from the Buddha. This is from Majjhima Nikaya, and he says this, and again, it's ancient and eternal, completely fresh, and exactly what we all need today. Suppose that a man were to come along carrying a burning grass torch and saying, with this burning grass torch, I will heat up the river and make it boil. Now, what do you think? Would he, with that burning grass torch, heat up the river and make it boil? No. Why is that? Because the river is deep and enormous. It is not easy to heat it up and make it boil with a burning grass torch. The man would reap only a share of weariness and disappointment. And this is what the Buddha says. Others may address you in a timely way or an untimely way. They may address you with what is true or what is false. They may address you in an affectionate way or a harsh way. They may address you in a beneficial way or an unbeneficial way. They may address you with a mind of goodwill or with inner hate. In any event, you should train yourselves. Our minds will be unaffected, and we will say no evil words. Beginning with him, we will keep pervading the all-encompassing world with an awareness imbued with goodwill equal to the river, abundant, expansive, immeasurable, free from hostility, free from ill will. That's how you should train yourselves. And so the Buddha is saying that this is possible in a human body, with human emotions, with a human mind, that it is possible to train ourselves. So even if we see falsehood, even if we see unrighteousness, even if we see ill will, even if we see inner hatred writ large, this is our task, to fill ourselves with goodwill and to be like the river so that we are deep and enormous in our goodwill. And the fire, like the Buddha's not saying that the fire is not there. He's acknowledging it's there. But he's saying you are deeper than the fire. And so go deeper than the fire. And anything that you see in time and space is just an opportunity to go deeper, always. And then what happens is you become imbued with this goodwill so that nothing can shake you, no matter what it is that you observe or experience in time and space. The Buddha goes farther. So that was about if you see people who are lying, people who are using words to create hatred, people who are using words to create fear, people who are using words to create harm. This is what he says. Stay with goodwill. Be deep and immeasurable, like the river, in your goodwill. Extend goodwill even to the people who are saying that, even to the people who are doing that, and then allow goodwill to radiate forth through you to benefit the entire world. His next teaching says, even if they are acting violently, don't depart from goodwill. So first it's about words, and then it's about actions. Even if bandits were to carve you up savagely, limb by limb, with a two-handled saw, if you let your heart get angered, even at that, you would not be doing my bidding. Even then, you should train yourselves. Our minds will be unaffected, and we will say no evil words, beginning with them, the ones who are cutting off your limbs with the two-handled saw. Beginning with them, we will keep pervading the all-encompassing world with an awareness imbued with goodwill, abundant, expansive, immeasurable, free from hostility, free from ill will. That's how you should train yourselves. And he actually tells his students, attend constantly to this teaching. That will be for your long-term well-being and happiness. And so, do you understand how liberating this teaching is? It frees you in relation to anything that anyone thinks about, says, or does in time and space. And it frees you to connect always with what is true and what is honorable and what is righteous and what is just and what is noble and what is good report, what inspires, what heals, what uplifts, what elevates. And notice what happens in your body. If you focus in your body on what is uplifting, what is elevating, what is righteous, what is honorable, what is noble, what is just, what is of good report, what blesses, what inspires, notice what happens in your body. Notice what happens in your heart. Notice what happens in your mind. He's not saying don't act. He's saying be connected with goodwill always. And then you will know right action. And he's also saying only if you are connected with goodwill always will you come from right action. Will it be the case that divine wisdom is able to act through you? And so for each of us to know that this is a matter of training ourselves, he makes this clear. It is a matter, as many times as it takes, that we choose goodwill, that we choose to be deep and enormous, the way the river is deep and enormous, and we allow ourselves to not be heated up and boiled if we see people who are behaving in unrighteous ways. And I will just share with you, someone else mentioned to me this week that they were aware of people behaving in dishonorable ways in the world, and they were aware themselves that if they gave way to their own anger, anger is bottomless. And so to just have that self-awareness that, yes, I observe, this is happening in time and space. What would be a solution to that? So instead of focusing on what is not honorable, focus on what is a solution. Focus on what you would like to create. Focus on what you love. And in that way, what happens is, remember that image that I gave you? You sometimes go through the car wash and you get that treatment on your windscreen so that then the droplets of water just kind of go away. It helps you move through the unpleasantness. Like the Buddha is not saying this is pleasant. It helps you move through. It helps you keep moving forward. And it helps you be, another famous teacher, Jesus, called this being the leaven. He said it only takes a little bit of leaven, a little bit of yeast, to make the whole loaf rise. And so just focus on your own consciousness, your own energy, your own awareness. Don't worry about anyone else's consciousness and energy and awareness. Be the leaven. Keep focusing on being the energy of peace. Keep focusing on being this energy of righteousness and of justice. And another thing that the Buddha is saying right here is, this is what I am creating. No matter what I create in time and space, what I am creating is my own pure heart, with every thought I think. That is the thing I am really creating with my life, is my pure heart. The stuff I do in the world is beyond that. It arises naturally. If I attend to my pure heart, whatever work, whatever service I am to share in the world, it just comes. It comes as naturally as breathing. And so what I am creating and what I am accountable for is just the purity of my heart, the purity of my consciousness, the purity of my conduct. I will share with you a couple of other teachings. One of the things that Swami Nityananda says, let me see if I can find his teaching right here. He says, he can say things quite strongly. So this is one of those moments. We justify our limitations. We fight for our limitations. Why do I interpret what I perceive the way I interpret it? Do you say it's a terrible world or an amazing world? Do you say it's God's world or do you say it's a horrible world? Your perceptions are ever changing. The unchanging reality sees all without judgment, sees all as the manifestations of itself, and therefore they are all divine manifestations. Pure consciousness does that. If you don't see it that way, it means consciousness has not been purified. Purify the consciousness. And here's where he gets kind of strong. He says, chop off the head of the ego that says, I'm miserable, you're rotten. And he goes on to say, you have no business looking at anyone with judgment. Only the separate individual self allows us to carry on like drama queens and drama kings. And so use it as an indicator. Just ask yourself, have I been being a drama queen? If so, that's just an indicator. The separate individual self is at play, and that means I get to purify my consciousness so that I see that deeper than anything in time and space, there's only pure source energy. And so then I'm aligning with highest good from moment to moment, independently of what other humans are creating. And there's no drama. Like, that's where the drama goes away. Right? So just let it be an indicator and a reminder. Also, have I been feeling hopeful? If I've been feeling hopeful, that's an indicator that I'm aware. Pure source energy underlies anything in time and space. So no matter what messes humans are making, pure source energy is deeper than all of it. If I'm feeling hopeful, that means I'm aligned with pure source energy. If I'm feeling despairing, that means I get to align with pure source energy. Okay, so just use it as an indicator. And I would like to share with you a couple of practices. First, a story, and then a couple of practices. So one of the ways to connect with pure consciousness is in stillness. So meditation helps. Practicing karma yoga, selfless service, that helps as well. Being in community, seeing other people from all backgrounds and walks of life who are just living these teachings of truth, daily life, making this choice to live in courage and live in wisdom and live in skill, live in strength. That also really helps. And connecting with stillness helps. And so stillness is like if you've ever been in nature and nature doesn't argue, right? There's no commentary. There's no talking heads. There's no interpretation. There's just like the lake, the mountain, the trees, the forest, the sand, the water, the waves, the flowers. And so when you're in contact with stillness, you have that feeling of wholeness. And words just sort of vanish. And so when we're in contact with that stillness, we're also in contact with life. We're in contact with healing, and we're in contact with, you can call it like your purpose, your ability to be here and to be here in joy, to be here willingly. And so this is a story about a young meditator who got out of touch with stillness. And the context in which he got out of touch with stillness, I'm saying this with good humor and with enormous respect and sympathy, he was in a place that had only rudimentary medical facilities. And he caught a severe fever. So for an extended period of time, his fever was like at a dangerous level. And he was receiving rudimentary medical support, so he was receiving enough antibiotics to keep him here in the physical, barely. But he was sort of like on this life and death edge. And he's in this life and death edge. His meditation comes to see him. And he's thinking, great, My meditation teacher is going to give me this healing blessing. My meditation teacher is going to speak these words that are going to be like this lightning bolt of illumination. His meditation teacher looked at him and said, well, you'll either recover or you'll die. That's old school teaching. And he realized, after his meditation teacher had walked out, that's actually the truth. And I have been fighting the truth. And the truth has kept me fighting, wanting, which has prevented stillness from being here. And so for yourself, I'll tell you the ending of his story first. He opened to stillness, and he just completely accepted that is the truth. I will recover or I will leave the body. And his fever broke when he stopped wanting. And so for each of us, there is that question, am I wanting in a way that is keeping me from being in stillness? And I have a little metaphor here to share. I was noticing after I was reflecting on that yesterday, I was carrying at home this little bottle of oil that I use for my hands because they get kind of dry. When I was holding the little bottle of oil, no matter how still I was, there was always motion, always. When I set the bottle of oil down, stillness was there. It was instant. And so for myself, what have I been holding, trying to make stillness be there? What have I been wanting that's actually preventing the natural stillness that is already there from coming into view? And so if you set it down, if you open to stillness, the stillness is actually already there. And that stillness that's already there, it's bigger than the separate individual self. And it has resources and ideas and opportunities and insights and inspiration and healing that is not possible for the separate individual self to connect with. And so make that a practice. Practice self-awareness. Am I wanting? Am I trying to make stillness be there? If I set it down, can I actually allow stillness to arise and to share it with me? And so that's one practice. Here's the second practice. This one's from Swami Nityananda. It's very simple, and I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable closing your eyes. And I invite you to just become aware of your heart energy. It's fine to place a hand on your heart if you would like, just to become aware of your heart energy. And silently, with caring, with kindness, just say, I am, silently into your own heart. Not adding anything to I am, just silently, I am. I am. I am. Allow yourself to feel the purity of your own being, your own life energy, the awareness that is within you. So let go of adding any identifier or any qualifier or any limitation to I am. And just stay with that pure, bare I am. Allow that energy to flow through your body. Allow it to flow through your heart. Allow it to flow through your mind. Allow it to flow through your life. And now I invite you to send a wave of that pure I am energy to everyone else who's meditating right now. And just notice how the room feels if you're in a shared space. If you're meditating at home with yourself, just notice how the room feels. And now send a wave of that pure I am energy around the world. Just pure, exuberant, glad, good-humored, hopeful, heart-filled life energy. And know that every breath you breathe, every moment, every step you take, everywhere you are, this pure I am energy is with you. Nothing is impossible to one who is in contact with this pure I am energy and keeps choosing love and wisdom and kindness. And notice how it uplifts and elevates your body, heart, mind, and life. And notice that this is possible to come back to very quickly, wherever you are in daily life, in the midst of a family conversation, taking a walk, doing the dishes, writing an email, doing whatever tasks you are doing for work, for your life, being with yourself. Loosen the grip of identifying with any limitation that you add to I am. And so if you've been saying, I am sad, I am tired, I am fearful, I am worried, I am afraid, I am grieving, I am troubled, I am concerned, let it go and come back to the pure I am. And notice, what would I truly like to help create? I am hopeful, I am bold, I am illumined, I am inspired, I am elevated, I am uplifted, I am creative, I am compassionate, I am caring, I am good-humored, I am healthy, I am happy, I am whole, I am alive, I am filled with joy, I am filled with exuberance, I am filled with pure life energy. Thank God, and God bless us all.